All right, folks, who wants to start modding my wife's 2007 Crown Victoria? Now, when I say mod, I use that term a little bit loosely because it's not really a mod in the way that you guys might be thinking speed and performance. It's more of a cosmetic mod. You see, what we're doing is we're going to be replacing this tail panel here and tail lights with the ones off of the 09 Police Interceptor, because they had the blackout panels here, they had the black trim across the bottom, and the same with the tail lights. Tail lights are basically the same anyway, with the exception of the chrome. So that's one thing we're doing today in this video. And another thing that we're doing is something that I've been wanting to do ever since the day I bought the car, and that is swap out that header panel on the front of the car. Let's take a look. You see, ever since I bought this car, it came with a chrome grille, and we replaced that chrome grille with one that we actually painted. That's not the issue. The issue is, at some point in this car's life, somebody has bumped this grille to the point where it's cracked right there and right there, which means this whole header panel right here needs to come out. And we're going to do that today with very little effort and very little tools, and I'm going to show you exactly what we're going to do to get there. But first, let me show you the replacement part. There's the replacement panel. Now, I bought this brand new through the aftermarket. It is a CAPA certified part, and we had it painted to match the car. And because the car was so old, my buddy George down at the body shop said, I don't think we're ever going to mix that to what the factory says it is. We're going to scan it. So we grabbed this little scanning tool, scanned a paint formula or a recipe for it, mixed it up, and this is what it come out to. And you know what? From here to here, it looks the same. But we're going to know once we get it actually on the car to see exactly how close it is. And I've held it up there already. I think she's pretty darn close. So we're going to start in the back, get those tail lights done in that other panel because it's a pretty simple job. Then we'll move to the front and show you what we're going to do up there. So I don't think that we have to go into complete detail on how to switch out these tail lights. They are very, very simple. Now on these ones here, there is an extra plug-in, and that is your strobe lighting that goes into the bottom here. If it's coming from a P71 or a P7B police car, it may have this, it may not. In both of these cases, the tail lights came off of that 2009, which was a Maine State Trooper car, so therefore we probably won't be plugging them into anything on this car. So where we're going to focus our attention is on this tail panel. Now, some people may say, well, why would you bother switching them out? Because this is painted body color and this is chrome. This is the only thing you need to change. And in my opinion, the short answer is I would prefer to have this black than chrome over having these painted body color. And you never know, maybe we'll take this and we'll paint it body color the same as we did with the grill. But the first thing that we're going to want to do, we're going to go out front and disconnect the negative side of the battery post because we don't want that light shining all the time that we're going to be changing this thing out. Granted, it doesn't take very long. We also don't want to take any chances on running our battery dead. So I'm going to go remove the negative side of the battery cable with an 8mm wrench, then we'll get started. So where we're going to start is with these little nuts. They're 10mm, they're sticking out. I think there's 6, 7, 8 of them all together. And we want to be very, very careful with those. I'm going to encourage you guys not to use power tools on this job. No power, no electric ratchet, no torque wrench, nothing, or no torque gun or impact gun. Because all those are held in there with, let me show you. Because those are only into plastic and those holes will strip out quicker than John Force. So we're gonna be super careful. We're gonna use a small 1/4" drive, 10mm. Let's get these off. So next you're going to take these two 7mm that are holding the license plate light in, get those out, and then we can move on to the next step. Now it's time to get the license plate off. 2 more 7mm, this thing should pop right off. So now with all the fasteners disconnected, we can now easily reach in here and start prying up very carefully. The reason why I say carefully is because there is a seal, a foam seal that goes all the way around, and we want to make sure that we take that off and try and get it out in one piece. So now that we've got all our fasteners disconnected, one last thing is reach up in here and disconnect this gray plug-in, because that is your entire wiring harness for these 2 lights and your park lights. That will come out with this panel. So get that disconnected, and then this whole thing should lift off. with a little bit of prying around all the edges. All right, now that we've got both panels off and side by side, you'll see a couple of differences. One, this foam piece here did not come off in one piece off of the old police car. On our car, it did. It came off and it stayed intact, which means we won't have to touch anything here to get everything back in place. The other thing that you'll see, the other thing that might be different, these little studs that those screw onto, I'm missing a few on this panel. But some of them actually stayed on the car. They weren't supposed to. These were supposed to be fastened into the plastic, and then this nut comes off by itself. So we've got one here, we've got two over here, and we've got one over here. That shouldn't be a problem. They should screw back into these same holes and get this thing back into place without too much trouble. But what we've got to do is we've got to get the surface cleaned up, because we want to make sure that's good and clean before we put that foam back on there. I've got my mag rag here that I'm going to use to wipe it down. If you guys don't know what mag rag is, they're magnetic shop rags. They've got a little magnet sewn right in the corner. That way your rag is always where you left it. If you guys want some of these for yourself, there's a link down in the description box below. Make sure you check them out. They were kind enough to help me out by sending me some of these to try out. I'm doing my part by sending you guys their direction. American-made company. Let's get this cleaned up. Okay, so we got our surface cleaned up here all the way across. We're ready to just swap this piece back over. And what I've done is I'm going to put a little bit of bead of silicone, clear silicone down there. And once that sets up, that'll hold that foam in place. So in a couple of hours, that should be held on there enough that I can go and put this back in place. So once that's done setting up, we'll be back to throw that on. All right, so it's a few minutes later. I've got this thing laid down here. All the holes are lined up. So what we've got to do is we've got to start with these studs that are still there. So we're going to kind of hold that in place, tighten those down so that that coarse thread goes back into the plastic but doesn't crack it. So you don't want to be over tightening these things. So we're on this particular one, we're going to start with this one. We've got one here on the bottom and both of these on the side. So let's get that done, and then we can go up here, put our two screws down in behind the license plate, connect our license plate light, and then go through with the rest of these nuts that are left over and get those screwed in. All right, so in the beginning of the video, I did say that these were held in with 3 10 millimeters. They're not 10s, they're 11s. Let me show you right quick how to take these out. So right here is a little body plug. It's just kind of holding that fabric on. It just kind of slides on by friction. And then you just pull it out of the way, and there's your 3 11 millimeters. There's one there, and one there. So those will come out very easy. Just take your socket and spin it. You can take them off by your fingers. So both taillights are in, the back panel's on. Let's close her up, see what she looks like. Oh yeah, much better. And I think what I will do is I will probably mask these off, spray paint those the same color. But either way, it looks good. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Do you like the blacked out look better than the pieces of chrome across the bottom? And should I paint those body color? Let me know. Anyways, now that that's done, let's move up front and take a look at that front header. Okay, so in order to get this front header off, first thing we gotta do is we gotta take off this inspection panel and then remove the headlights. So let's get that done. So in order to remove your inspection panel, your car should have 3. This car's only got 2, but there's one missing here. 3 of these little clips, you just unscrew them, pull them out like so, and then this whole thing just lifts out of there, and we can just kind of set it up out of the way. Now, most of your 03 and newer Crown Vic's Grand Marquis should have the pull tabs that just unlock by pulling up like so and loosening up and unlocking the headlight. But I know that my 04 Grand Marquis, they were bolted in. So you had to get 3 bolts out before you could slide those headlights forward. So this one here has the locking clips. So you're just gonna pry up on those like so, and then that unlocks them, and you should be able to pull your headlight out of that setup. Now that you got your headlights out and sitting on the bumper, now you can unplug the high and low beam and your turn signal. Next thing we gotta do is we gotta get these turn signals out. There's one 11 millimeter down there and one Phillips head right there. And then you can either unplug it from there or simply undo that little metal clip, which just snaps out with a flathead screwdriver, twist off the bulb. And if you've unplugged it from here, this wire is now out of the way because you've unplugged it. But if you've only done what I've done, you can just take that wire, slide it up inside the fender. Now it's up out of the way. Now do the same thing on the other side. So in where the park light is, there is an 8mm bolt here. There is a 5.5mm bolt here. And then there's a bunch of Christmas tree body clips down the side of the fender. And then some more 8mm the whole way across the bottom. Same thing over here. And another 7 there, 5.5 here. And then some more of those Christmas tree plugs down here on this inner fender. That is what's going to remove the front bumper. So let's get to it. Once you've got all those fasteners out for the bumper, you're going to want to pry this out over here. Pry this out on the passenger side, and then you can grab a hold of it and give it a quick little tug. There's a couple of clips that are holding it in. Those will just pop out. And then you've got the whole bumper out on your lap. Now we can start taking off the header. Now those Christmas tree clips that were held in here, I ended up cutting them off with a pair of side cutters because they were just bending. They were so soft at the flat. I'm lucky enough that I've got some of these that I can replace, but if you don't, you're gonna have to work away a little bit harder to get those out. But in most cases, you're probably gonna have to cut them out. Now for the header, we're in the home stretch. 8mm bolt right up here in the top corner. There's another one right down here in the bottom. This bracket, there's one there and one there. And same thing over here. One on the top, one on the bottom. You've got a matching 8mm bolt over here in the top corner. And then one more right here. And then this whole thing should be loose. So now that we got all of our bolts out, we've got 2 dowels that we need to deal with. And they are right up in here. They are attached to the header and they come out through this little hole. If the header that you're taking out is damaged and you're not too concerned about it, you can just take a Sawzall and cut that off and this will pull right out. But what we've got to do is we've got to be able to get that dowel out. I've created a little bit of a fulcrum here with a 2x4 and a socket. We're going to stick a pry bar down in here, pull back, and that will allow us to shim the header to the fender once we've released these 2 bolts right here. So having those dowels there, those are going to be the first thing to break when you're prying this off. That's why when it comes to putting the new one on, it's going to help to have a buddy to do the prying for you while you set the dowels in place to get the new header, which is over there, back in place. So I'm going to go grab that other header, swap the grill, which is 11mm nuts, and normally they would just snap into holes down here. They're broken on this particular one, but they all should look like that, and we can get that switched over to the new header, get ready to put that back in. So I managed to get the new header in place with one little trick. I had my son come out and he was prying on this with the 2x4. And what I ended up doing was taking a pair of pliers and prying back on that piece of metal on the fender where the second dowel hits. Because we started with the 2 dowels in over there. And when we came over here, we could not pry the fenders apart far enough to get those dowels in. So I simply just bent that tab over. It slid right into place. Junior let go of the fender. And then we just went in with a flat screwdriver and tapped that flange to the dowel back in place. Now we've still got a gap here and over here, but those will come together when we put our 2 bolts in this way and that way. And then we can start replacing everything else to make sure it lines up. Let me go put those back in. Then we can put the bumper back on in the reverse order that we took it off. I'll show you the finished product when we're done. All right, now that everything's put back together, headlights are in, park lights are in, bumpers on, everything is secure. You want to make sure you're going to close your hood and nothing's going to hit. So just drop it gently. And then we've got all kinds of gap there. We should have no problems with it hitting anywhere. And there we have it. There's our new header panel installed on our 07 Crown Victoria, and this would be the same setup if you were doing an 03 and up to 2011. If you guys found this video helpful at all for doing some adjustments and some upgrades on your Crown Vic, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. We've got all kinds of Panther platform content on this channel, including my son Junior's 2011 manual swapped. That's right, it's got a manual transmission in it. Crown Vic, there's gonna be lots of videos coming your way on that as well. Guys, stay focused on the windshield, not the rearview mirror. I love you guys, God bless. We'll see you again in the next video.